Unopened on this look. It's a funeral service brought to you by Golden Gate Funeral Home and Crematory with facilities in Fort Worth, Texas, Dallas, Texas, and Tallulah, Louisiana. I'm your host, John Beckwith Jr., and I'm joined today by my sister, my partner, our Chief Financial Officer, Miss Carolyn Haynes.
Good morning, everybody.
All right. We have three things we try to discuss each morning with you. And that is, first of all, we try to help you prepare for the physical death for yourself as well as for your family. And then the second thing we try to do, we try to give some type of knowledge concerning the funeral industry itself. This is not something most people become an expert at, and we don't want you to become an expert in funeral services. We want you to be able to just ask the Undertaker. And then also, we want you to know who Golden Gate Funeral Home is, who is the owner of Golden Gate Funeral Home, and who's this Beckwith family that we see on the billboards and on the internet. And those are the three things that we want to go over with you today. So, Carolyn, I'll start off with introducing the Beckwith family,
Okay.
the founders, the owners of the funeral home. John Beckwith Sr., our founder and owner. He's still very much alive. I'd like to remind people that.
Yes, because they
A
don't
lot of
think
times people think Dad has passed away.
Yes.
That is not the case. He was
No.
here at the funeral home on yesterday. He is still the owner of Golden Gate Funeral Home, along with his two children, myself and Carolyn. We've never been owned by anyone else. We never will be. We are the Beckwith family owned and operated Golden Gate Funeral Home.
Yes, sir.
Carol, it's important that people know that. A lot of people say, well, are you all from Louisiana? And I tell the story that Dad is from Louisiana.
Okay.
We went there every weekend. We own a funeral home in Louisiana. But Mom is from
Arkansas.
Arkansas. So all the children were born here in Dallas. This is our community.
Yes.
This is where we were raised. This is where we went to school. This is where we graduated. And this is the community we give back
Two.
to.
Yes,
I
sir.
thought that was important. I
Yes.
met with a family on yesterday, and they was trying to decide between us and my competitor up the street. And he went down there. He said, I didn't know they wasn't owned by black people.
Mm.
He said, I didn't know. They
Right.
had black people working there. He said, but I want to use a black owned and a black operated facility. And I said, well, that's definitely the case here.
That's us.
That's important. So also we talked about two other things that we want to make sure that we get a good understanding. First of all, is that you have a right to ask questions 24 hours, not just within this 15-minute segment or 15-minute segment on Monday, but also on Saturday from 10:15 to 11 o'clock a.m. But also you can go out on Facebook anytime, or you can personally text us, and we'll answer any questions that you may have.
Yes.
And people have a lot of different questions, Carol,
They do.
when it comes to funeral
Yes,
business.
Yes,
And I want to kind of get you involved here. One of the things people ask, should I even have a funeral? What do you think about that?
Most definitely, you should have a funeral, and we asked that question. We've been asked that question, and I really feel like you need to have that closure. You need to say goodbye. You need to see your loved one, especially during this time of COVID. We have so many family members that weren't able to see their loved one because they were in a hospital, nursing facility, and to have that funeral gives you that closure.
So a lot of times people say, well, what if I want to be cremated? Or what if it was my loved one's wishes to be cremated? Can I still have a funeral?
Most definitely. We get that quite often as well, John. Yes, at Golden Gate Funeral Home, you can have a full funeral. You can have that homegoing celebration your loved one deserves. You can have that closure for yourself, and then the cremation can take place. We have our own crematory, so we can do everything right here for you.
So regardless of what we call a final disposition, regardless if it's going to be burial or if it's going to be cremation,
Yes,
or
sir.
even if we're going to send you out of the state to your home, we definitely recommend you have some type of homegoing celebration. Allow your friends, allow your families to come and say goodbye. And we believe that's a very important part of starting the grieving process.
Most definitely, because we know you will grieve, and we don't want you to stay in any of those processes too long because it's not healthy for you, and your loved one wouldn't want that. And that funeral service helps you move through the process that you need to do.
So if we know the importance of having a funeral, and we now understand that regardless of our final disposition, if we're going to another state or if we're going to be cremated or even buried,
Yes.
We can still have a funeral.
Yes.
So if we're going to have a funeral, we're going to tell you need to be prepared for the funeral.
Yes.
This is not something you want to wait to have to make that decision when your loved one has passed away.
No.
So two people should be making a decision. First of all, the person who passed away should have done it for the family. But you know that that person is not always the most responsible person.
Right.
Uses
Think
grandmama,
not-
uses mama,
Yeah.
it's usually one person in the family that's very responsible. So Carolyn, can I come take what I call a prearranged or a pre-need out on a family member?
Yes, you definitely can. There is a clause there that states if you're going to be financially responsible for this person's disposition, you can take that pre-need out. So you don't have to come out of pocket or try to scramble around to pay for that funeral service. You have an interest in that funeral, you can do a pre-need.
So that's interesting. Some people are saying, listen, there's no way I'm going to get my son up there. There's no way I'm going to talk my husband into coming up to a funeral. He's just not going to do it. You don't have to. You can come do it for them,
Yes,
and then come back and
For
tell
you.
them, now this is what I did, because I didn't want to have to be sitting before the funeral director at the worst day of my life. So you can come do it ahead of time, even without them.
yes,
And I believe the law says, as long as I have an insurable
interest
interest in
Yes,
their
sir.
life, meaning I'm
Yes.
going to financially be.
responsible for
for
them.
So
Yes, sir.
can I take out insurance on someone without them knowing? A lot of people wonder that. Now, do they have to sign for it? And once again, if you have an insurable interest of that person, no, they do not have to sign for insurance.
Okay.
So I can take an insurance policy out on you
Yeah.
because we are partners.
Exactly.
But if she was a stranger, I couldn't. Is that
No,
correct?
no. Again, you have to have that insurable interest, and what John's talking about is what we have is key man insurance, so the business can continue. If this person is a spouse or a wage earner in your home, and you depend on that, your children depend on that, you can take out that insurance policy. If you're going to be responsible for some of their financial responsibilities and or their children, you have that insurable interest.
So, grandmama, you can take out insurance on
All of
everybody
it.
because you're the one they're going to call when something
Happens.
happens. And we're saying that's not illegal.
No,
And
sir.
you're not taking out the insurance to do something to
To
them.
profit.
You just understand if something happens, they're going to come to you to make sure it's done.
Yes, sir.
Now, last will and testament, Carol.
Oh,
This is really big,
yes.
especially for the African American
Yes,
community.
sir.
We talk about three things. Make sure you write down everything you own.
Yeah.
And a lot of us think we don't own anything. So, Carol, we don't write down anything.
Most definitely, and you own something. You own a vehicle. You have and he talks about also as well as who you owe. So there are some things that you own. But more importantly, with this last will and testament, there are some people you are responsible for. They're still going to need that help when you're no longer here. That last will and testament gives those instructions as well as the financial means to make sure they're still taken care of.
So we say, well, what do I own? Let's say if I don't own a lot of things, I own clothing, I own shoes, I own,
Vehicles.
I might own a chair
Mm,
or whatever I own. What we don't want is family members fighting over it. We want you to decide who gets it, from something really small like a statue or
land,
anything, all the way up to a vehicle or
Uh-huh.
land,
Yes, sir.
because you don't have to have the big things for people to fight. You'll be surprised people will
Mm.
fight just over the little things.
Yes,
So that's
sir.
everything you own. Then we talk about everyone you owe.
Yes, sir.
You say, well, why is that important? If I owe them and I pass away, does the debt go away? And that answer is no. They can actually come after your, what we call estate. So it's important that we know who you owe,
Yes,
and then we can determine who we're going to pay and
exactly.
how we're going
Gonna
to
pay
pay
them.
them. Some of them may accept the death certificate. Some may want to sell the house or sell the car in order to
Mhm.
pay that debt, but
Yes,
you
sir.
want to do it legally, so no one comes back later against you or
Your family.
And then we talk about who you're responsible for,
Yes,
Carol.
sir.
In our case, we're a sandwich generation. We have our father as well as
And
our children.
Most definitely you do. So you are taking care of someone else other than yourself. And you need to provide for them in that last will and testament. Again, telling who will take care of them as well as providing financial means so their life can continue since you're no longer here.
And then we have living wills,
Oh, yeah.
especially in a time like COVID, when a lot of times we're unable to speak for ourselves. Our strokes, heart attacks, anything that would happen to us that we're unable to speak or think for ourselves, Carol, it's important to have something in writing on what you want done.
Most definitely. So if you want medical devices, if you want to be on a respirator, then you must tell your family. You must tell the doctors that are going to make that final decision. And should you survive, especially during this COVID infection at this time, where is it that you want to be to recuperate? If you want to be at home, you have to make sure you have it in writing where that money is located to take care of you. If you want to be in a nursing facility, your family needs to know. These are very, very hard decisions, and especially if there's more than one person in your family that's the next of kin.
So you take out disability insurance, so the money will be readily available. Most of us can't save enough money to pay for a nursing home or home health care. Like there is disability insurance you can purchase. And Carol, if I have any money in the bank, I want to make sure I put a payable on death on every account.
Every account. We still see this way too often. You didn't get the pre-need, you didn't get the insurance that we talk about all the time, but you have plenty of money in the bank. But you're the only person on the account. Your family cannot just walk into the bank and say, Carolyn has passed away. I need to get all of her money out of this bank. There has to be documents in place. This person has no access to your money while you're living, but when you pass away, it's very important. So there are no legal proceedings they have to go through to get that money out the bank.
So everyone should have a payable on death on every bank account that you have. Then Carol, there's a thing called a right of disposition.
Yes.
Who's going to be in charge of your funeral?
Most definitely. And this is a very simple sheet of paper, one sheet of paper, but it's so, so important. You need to tell your family who you want to take care of your disposition. Your next of kin may not agree with what you want. You've never agreed on anything, and they're not going to do what you want done. This piece of paper does that. If you want your spouse to do it, by all means, tell them. Because most of us have parents, we have children, we have other people in our lives that are considered next of kin in the state of Texas. And we need to make sure our family knows who we want to take care of it. No chaos, no confusion, and your disposition is handled properly.
So we don't want a conversation. We want it in writing because people are going to say, well, she told me one thing, he told me something else. We were at the reunion, they brought up something else. We was at the house, there was another conversation in the kitchen. No, what's in writing is on things going to stand. And that piece of paper is free.
Yes.
You just come by here, you get the
right disposition. We will notarize it for you. We will keep it on file here for you, but we want you to send it to the person that you want to take care of you.
And even if you're married, you want to kind of get that understanding with your parents,
yes.
Especially if there's stepchildren involved,
yes.
Even biological children sometimes can be an issue. So you just want to get understand. I know this is your daddy, but I am his wife, and I understand this is your mother, but I am her husband, and this was her wishes. Exactly. We know that because this is what she put in
writing.
She put this in writing, and these are different forms, Carol. A lot of times people think a pre-need covers it. It doesn't. Or they think a last will and testament cover it. It doesn't. Right of disposition is a totally different form within itself.
Yes, sir.
Now, how do I find the last will and testament? Or how do I find the insurance policy? Where is these things that you have put in place?
We call this the last letter of instruction, just telling everyone where everything is. Everything we just mentioned, they need to be able to go and pick that up. They need to be able to go to the bank with their name on the account, open that safe deposit box and get the things out to take care of you and your family. We talked about people you left behind. They're not going to have any idea unless you actually give this to them. We ask that you write it down daily. You change it as your life change. We then ask you to email it to the person that's going to take care of you and your family.
And this is what we hear all the time is that no one can find the will. Of course you can't find the will if the will is not in your favor. Or if the person who got the will is not in the will. No, nobody's going to find the will. Sir. So you need several electronic copies, and you need them sent to the people that's actually in the will. There's no way you're going to find something if I'm hiding it.
No.
You're not going to find it if I am the one that's not going to work in my favor.
Exactly.
So you have to make sure that that thing gets to the person you are entrusting. Now, we're going to be back here on KGGR, on Facebook, on Instagram. We're going to be right back here Saturday morning from 10:15 to 11 o'clock a.m.
Yes, sir.
We know this is a lot. We know 7 things is a lot to remember, but we want to make sure we get that across to you. Monday from 8:15, 8:30.
Yes, sir.
Thursday from 8:15, 8:30. And every Saturday morning from 10:15 to 11 o'clock a.m. May God bless you and may God keep you. He is